Ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. You can do this with us. Ya da 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 ya da 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 da. One more time. Da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 ya da 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 da. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at PJTC in our wonderful Peacock Park out here. No, this is actually the Cats Terrace. That's what this space is called. We're not in the Galford Sanctuary this evening. We're in the Cats Terrace. And so don't say cats in front of the peacocks. So this is the one place where I've led a service during an earthquake. So I know it can be done. But God forbid we have any earthquake. It was a very gentle one. And I was trained in the conservative seminary where we're very serious about all the rules for prayer. And I'm in the middle of this prayer. I hadn't gotten to the Baruch Atah, et cetera, at the end of it yet. And then the earth started going like this. And so my first thought was, do I finish the prayer? Do I stop and say, hey, is everybody okay? Or do I finish the prayer? So what I did, this is a very from teacher. So we only had about a half a sentence to go. So I finished the prayer and then I said, is everybody okay? And it worked out. And the funny thing was there were some kids on the monkey bars, didn't feel a thing because they were in the swing of it already. So this is a lovely space. We could be out a little bit under the stars, a little bit under the shade. We've got an anti-mosquito robot over here, which is nice. And so tonight we're going to be, I really like it when we're all on kind of the same level and we're around each other and we can hear each other. And so I invite you to take full advantage of that. And if you're unused to letting your voice off its leash, feel free to loosen the leash at least a little bit this evening and notice how your voice blends with the voices of those around you. And with all of us singing together, that's the best possible experience of the service. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start with a song. And that song has words, and the words are on page 13 in your prayer book. The tune is the one that we've been kind of noodling on leading up to this. So this is a song where we imagine that there are angels that join us for Shabbat. We go through our regular weekday lives and we enter this holy space, and lo and behold, some angels join us and we say, welcome. We say, Shalom Aleichem, peace be upon you. And we invite them in and we ask them to bless us. And then when it's time for Shabbat to end, we see them on their way. And so it's Shalom Aleichem. It's on page 13. Page 13. Please join us. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedchem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Just before the sun goes down, we increase the light of Shabbat. I have behind me a couple of candles, and I'll ask the two people closest to those candles if they'd be willing to light them and say the blessing together.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu b'avod ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Well done. And just as we bring up the lights, we also bring up the sound with some psalms. I like to think of these psalms as like rungs on a ladder as we're climbing up out of whatever we had to deal with this week to the holiness and the heights of Shabbat. Take one step at a time, starting on page 15 with Lehuna Ranana. Lehuna Ranana L'Adonai Naria Letzo Yishenu Nekad Mafanav Betoda Bismirod Naria Lo Kiel Gadol Asher. Because it's sometimes when we sing these songs, there's times where there's no words, where we just go da la da 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 or la 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 la. And what that says to me is that everyone here knows the words. So if you hear a song like that, I invite you to please join in just a moment. Arba'im Shana Akut Bado Ve'omar Am To'e Levavhem Ve'hem Lo Yadu Derachai Asher Nishpate Ve'api Im Yivona Menuchati. Here's one like that. Ya da da da, ya da da da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da da da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, ספרו בגויים כבודו בכל העמים, נפלאותיו כי גדול אדוני, ומהולל מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים. Here we go. Percuss. We've had two psalms from our poet King David. Now we move on page 21 to a more recent song, only about 500 years old. Lecha Dodi was written as kind of a love poem to Shabbat. You can hear in it the longing for respite. You can hear in it this idea of Shabbat as kind of royalty, as like a visiting dignitary, somebody really special and almost inaccessible is coming to town. And we talk about Shabbat as a queen or royalty, something like that. But at the same time, we also refer to Shabbat as a person getting married, right? And that feeling of Shabbat entering is like that feeling when you're at a wedding and the beloved couple come down the aisle and everybody rises up and looks at them, just beaming with joy at this special occasion. And so we have both majesty and intimacy and longing in one poem. And we're going to do the whole thing. We're going to start on page 21. Page 21. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai ababai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lecha Dodi likrat kalai ababai 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 Pnei Shabbat kabela Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה לך דודי לקראת קהלי אבאביי 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 בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קהלי אבאביי 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 בני שבת נקבלה מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומי צאי מתוך הפכה רב לך שבט ומחבכה והוא יחמור עלייך חמלה התנערי מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קורבה אל נפשי גאלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יבביי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יבביי 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 פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי התעוררי כי באורק קומי אורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה, יבביי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יבביי 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 פני שבת נקבלה. הולך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. הולך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מה תשכחי ולא תחמי, מה תשתחקי ומה תחמי, בך יחסו עמי ונבנתה עיר אל תילה, והיו למשי סוף שועשייך ורקקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס קטן על קלה. הולך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, בית אדוני תריצי, אל יריש בין פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. הולך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. הולך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. אוי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובטובה, know if any of you have heard my story about where that last part comes from. As I said, the words come from the mystics of Svat about 500 years ago, but those last couple of bars, the tune comes from a great teacher of mine named Joey Weissenberg. He's a Jewish musician and teaches song leading and composes new songs, and is also a collector of old chazanut from lost generations as well. And he said he came up with that tune for Lecha Dodi one summer when he was visiting some family in the Midwest, and he was reading the biography of Lincoln. I don't know if it was the Doris Kearns Goodwin one, but it was about Abraham Lincoln, and he was struck by this scene that was painted. I believe it was Lincoln visiting the troops at Gettysburg or some big battlefield, and just hills just covered with troops. You just, as far as the eye can see, and Lincoln is walking literally miles through this encampment. And as he's walking surrounded by thousands of people, he's a pretty tall guy, kind of stands out. He's got the hat. But as he's walking between, as he's walking through this crowd of troops, it just parts like the sea. And if the troops go over this way and over that way as Lincoln walks through, and he's thinking about the image of Kabbalat Shabbat. Yaminu small tifrots. And he's got this kind of Americana, because it's Lincoln, it's like Shenandoah. And he hears this Americana tune, and he's thinking, Yaminu small tifrots, to the left and to the right, everyone parts, as a way of welcoming Shabbat in a very Jewish, but also a very American way. And so I like to pass along that bit of realia behind the music. Before we conclude Kabbalat Shabbat, I want to go to page 23. Page 23, a special song just for Shabbat. We'll just sing the first couple of lines. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. One more time. Tov lehodot l'Adonai. L'Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, o lehagid baboker chastecha, lehagid baboker chastecha, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, או להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני. Back to the first. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. If you're just joining us, welcome to Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. I'll be your host for this evening. Feels like a talk show. I'm sitting down, something to drink. Um, Cantaruth is fine. She's just on vacation, and that's why everybody was very patient with me, waiting for me to get back, and now we're going to be patient until Cantaruth gets back. And luckily, we have this beautiful space, and I encourage everyone to wear masks who wishes to, and also let you use your own judgment about being outside. But I do like that we're close together. We're all here on the same level. So my teacher once said, how high is a bema supposed to be? And he said 6 feet above criticism. So I really like being down here with everybody. I'm challenged for the first time in a while not having a microphone on me. So we'll see if I can't fix that for next week. But if anybody can't hear me, feel free to go like this or, hey, John, speak up. I'll do my best. But mostly for the last 3 weeks, I've just been singing to the radio. So we may reprise our Hank Williams Adon Olam tomorrow. Stay tuned. It's a great thing about Adon Olam. It's 4/4, and so are all Hank Williams songs. I've listened to that quite a bit when I was going through West Texas. I just got back from about a 3,000-mile road trip, round trip, maybe 3 and change. I drove from Burbank to Dallas, and then back by way kind of Phoenix, Arizona, did a little bit of camping in the desert in between, helped my parents move from one senior living place to another senior living place, and spent some time in my hometown of Commerce, Texas, of which I could still count on 2 hands the number of people who've heard of Commerce, Texas. So, but I went through and I tell you, driving through West Texas, there's a lot of road and not much else. And I got to go through California and Arizona and New Mexico and Texas. What was interesting, I kept the radio dial in the same thing, and about 101.1, and kept being surprised at the different stations that would come on. And it's good to get in touch with America. It's good to meet people outside my circle, even as I'm going to meet people who are inside my family. And to see all the differences and all the similarities. And what I can tell you is that it's hot, not just here. It gets even hotter the further you go west, as long as, to say, like on the 10. Only there they call it 10. We call it the 10. But one thing that was different about, and I make this trip every few years. One thing that's different is it's not just hotter on the thermostat. It's there's more heat. There's more anger. And that's true whether you're in California or Arizona or New Mexico or Texas. And it's true if you've got a Trump flag. It's true if you've got a BH for Baruch Hashem or Biden Harris. Or if you're a libertarian, I forget her name. There's a more anger than I've experienced. And it's been building. It's like when you're in your own place, you can't see how it grows, just like you can't see how your children grow the way other people do. But traveling in other places as well, I can appreciate that there's just more anger out there, not least in its manifestations of the rise in violence. And it's like you can't give a Shabbat sermon on just one shooting anymore, because there's usually more than one a week. There have been, as of July 4th, there were 309 what one group classifies as mass shootings this year. There's anger about politics. There's anger about the weather. There's anger about the falling levels of water that feed California and other places in the West. And I'm reminded of a teaching I got from Rabbi Jeff Middleman, who does Sinai and Synapses, this wonderful organization that marries religion and science. And we're going to be participating in a program of theirs this year and have lots of scientists talking at PJTC. You might say, when don't we? But we're the perfect organization to be hosting this. And he made a remark saying that, it used to be when you disagreed with somebody, they were just wrong. It was that simple. If you disagree with them, it's because they were wrong. Funny thing, they thought the same thing about you. I don't know if you knew that. But people are no longer just wrong. People who used to be just wrong, then they became wrong and stupid, right? They became, there's some deficiency in their care. It wasn't just they don't have all the facts. There's some deficiency in their faculties that they don't see the things the way I do. Those were the good old days, because now you're not just wrong and you're not just ignorant, you're evil, right? So the people I disagree with, used to be wrong, then they were dumb, and then they were evil. They were actively plotting against my way of life. And as I said before, they probably think the same thing about you. And this just raises this temperature of anger. And what I'm constantly reminded of is this sentiment, I believe best expressed by Krista Tippett, who's a broadcaster and author. And she says, anger is what pain looks like when it shows its face in public. And you can, I won't ask you to project that on anybody else, but you can check that for yourself. So if you think about a time recently or maybe long ago when you felt anger, if you really dig into that anger, at the bottom of it, there's pain. As one psychologist put it, anger is a secondary emotion. It's this coping mechanism for, I feel this pain, and I also feel like I can't do anything about it, so I'm going to get active. And when I get active, I get angry. And so tonight, just in the spirit of Shabbat, even as we heighten our spirits, I hope we can also maybe lower our mercury a little bit. Not in the chemical sense, not the astrological sense. I don't know. That's not for me. But if we could just lower the mercury, if we could just lower the temperature a little bit. And what's Jewish about that is from my favorite Pirkei Avot that says, among other things, you should dan et chavaro l'chav sechut. You should try to judge people inclined toward their favor. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them. This doesn't mean you have to give up your point of view. But maybe it allows you to see that wherever they're coming from is probably born of a good intention. Wherever they're coming from, if they're got a mad face on, probably started with a sense of pain. Something that they're attached to is at risk, and they're acting on it. And again, not to project this, I've felt the same way myself, and you could probably find a place within you that resonates with that. So what I want to do to lower the temperature, at least with us, and maybe we can set a brave example for people. As we take this calm of Shabbat into the week ahead, I want to do a little exercise with you. Don't worry, you're all dressed appropriately. It's not that kind of exercise. It is going to take a little bit of trust. It's going to take a little bit of creativity on your part, but I know you and I believe in you. So if you'll indulge me, I just want you to close your eyes for a second. And I want you to take one deep breath. And if that feels good, I want you to take one more deep breath. And I want you to maybe relax your face with a third deep breath. A lot of times we hold tension in our jaw, so just kind of let your jaw go where it will. No one can see you. Everybody's got their eyes closed. Just relax. And I want you to think of a place from your memory, from a photograph you like, but it's a place that inspires you toward calm. It's your peaceful place. It's your happy place. For some people, that's a mountainside. For some people, it's a beach. For some people, it's a sanctuary, religious or otherwise. Some people, it's a library. But I want you to think of your place. There's a gentle breeze in that place that cools you. And while you're in that place, taking in your breath, you see a person in your life that is mad at you. If you don't have a person like that in your life, I have a few I can share. But if you can think of a person in your life who's maybe upset with you or has been upset with you, and you're having a hard time communicating with each other, and you see the anger on that person's face, I want you to look down from their face into their hands. And in their hands, they hold a pile of sand. And that sand is pain. It's what's hurting them that is inspiring them to be so angry. And in this peaceful place of yours, in this gentle breeze, the sand is slipping between their fingers. It's running over their hands. It's passing away. As the last bits of sand flow through their fingers, their face changes. And you realize this anger doesn't have to be forever. It's coming from pain. It's coming from pain that may be temporary. It's coming from pain they may be holding on very tightly to, and yet, with time, it slips. With a breeze, it slips. With your peace, it slips away. And they thank you. And they leave. And coming over the horizon is another person. This is a person that you are angry with. It might be the same person who came back, but this is a person that you are angry with. And you can feel the tension in your face, and you can feel the weight of the sand in your hands. The sand is real. The pain is real. And yet, it's slipping between your fingers. The breath, the breeze that caresses the backs of your hands is blowing the sand off the top. It's slipping away, and the harder you hold on to it, the harder it is for the sand to stay. It slips through your fingers. And your hands become lighter, and your jaw relaxes, and your cheeks relax, and your forehead relaxes. And you don't have to give up anything of yourself except for the pain that you're holding on to. Because when you look down, it's gone. And the person thanks you and walks away. So here in this peaceful place, with hands that are turned up and free of pain, you can feel the cool breeze on your palm. You can feel it enter you as you take one deep breath. Another deep breath. A third deep breath, remembering this peaceful place, and you open your eyes. I don't mean to suggest that the pain you feel at the base of your anger is irrational or wrong of you to have. I believe it's more real than the anger that you feel. But before you contribute more anger to the world, remember that there is pain that can be dealt with. And you can make the world a more peaceful place by dealing with it, letting it go, and thanking those people for being in your life. I bring this up because Moshe Rabbeinu in Parshat Hukat went a long way through the wilderness with some very unpredictable people. People who cried out for water, people who cried out for food for 40 years. And God told Moses to speak to a rock, and that rock will give water, and everyone will stop griping. But Moses was just so angry. He had his own thirst. He had his own longing. And all these people wanted was more. And he was so angry, he struck the rock with his staff instead of speaking to it the way God said. And because of that, God said, I hate to tell you this, but after all this time, you can't go into the promised land. The next leader is Joshua. The next leader is a person who felt his fear and did not get angry. That's who goes to the promised land. That's how high the stakes are in our world today. So remember, when you have anger, it starts with pain, and the pain is something you can get help with and is only temporary. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for being here with us at PJTC. I'd like to continue with our call to blessing the Baruch Hu on page 28. Page 28. Rise in all the ways you're able. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני אמרי ברבי. You may be seated if you wish. We'll continue on page 29. How about you pick the key this time? Avato. Na, 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 na. Avat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha avta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu V'shovenu kumenu Nasiach v'sukecha V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי כן חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו ובהם nege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla v'vatal tasir mimenu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha v'derech ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We're on page 30. You can continue the second half of the page at your own pace. We'll get back together in just a minute. Let's join at the top of page 31, page 31. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem v'asu lehem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf patil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto Uzchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai vasitem otam velo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lechem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet ve'emunah kol zavu. On page 32, page 32. Chime in with me. I da 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 da, itty da 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 da, itty da 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 da, itty da 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 da, itty da da da, itty da 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 da, itty da da da. Mi chamocha. Vaylim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot osef elef malchutecha ra'u banecha Kayam lifnei Moshe zeini anu ve'amru zeli anu ve'amru Adonai imloch leolam Va'ed Adonai imloch le'olam ונאמר כי פרנאי יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה. אדוני, גא ישראל. I think from page 33, I'll just read Hashki Benu in the English for tonight. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler, guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace, now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all God's people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hafores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 34. Bishamru, Bishamru. Yeah. Page 34. Vishameru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat la'asot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Beini ubein bnei Yisrael oti leolam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom Hashevi Shabbat Vayinafash. Yitkara v'yitkara Shemei Rabbah B'ama divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala uvizman kariv v'beru amen yehi shmei Rabbah b'vorach leolam olam me'almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'truman v'naseh v'tadar v'taleh v'talal shmei dekudesha brihu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yama v'meru amen. We rise for the private Amidah on page 35b. Lean on the words of our tradition. They are strong. They'll hold you up. And you can share whatever words are in your heart this evening. And we'll all get back together in just a few moments. After a personal prayer, you may be seated. Ose shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu al kol Yisrael. Page 48. Yitkara v'yitkara shemei rabba. V'amadi v'akirotei v'yamlik machutei b'chai echonu v'yom echon uv'chai b'chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala uvizman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivorach leolam olal me'almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yipar v'yitramam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei rekudesha brichu le'el min kol bechata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'yama v'imeru. Amen. Tikabal tzor hon avad hon d'kol Yisrael karma v'hon d'bishmai v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Amen. We rise, if you're able, for Aleinu on page 51. Page 51. Aleinu neshabeach ladon hakol latenu la'yosef reshit shelo asanu le'aratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam helping lahem וגורל עלינו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ובואים לפני מלך מלא המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. המלכות שלך היא, ולמלא תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ידענה, וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד. You may be seated. Before we conclude our service this evening, we're going to pause to remember with honor those who are no longer with us. This week, we are marking the yahrzeit, and that is the anniversary of the passing of Harry Edelstone, Ruth Anderson, Michael Berry, Irwin Brown, Manny Cohen, Samuel Alexander Davis, Sheldon Donnenberg, Max Eisenberg, Harry Feinsod, Rose Freund, Fanny Ganulin, Roxy Holland Moritz, David Hootkes, Pearl Jaffe, Stephen Kay, David Mark, Samuel Miller, Nathaniel Miller, Joseph Midland, Stanley Paul, Mary Priester, Peter Richmond, Benjamin Russell, Irving Scher, Edward Schwamm, Marlene Haight Siegel, Murray Siegel, Oscar Stern, Huguette Stroh, Naomi Weinstein, Leon Weissman, Rose Weiss, Martin Zalanka, and Louis Zyman. I'll ask anyone who's marking a yard site, or if anyone here is in mourning for anybody at all, please rise and we'll pray together the Kaddish tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. It's on page 82, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra kirute v'amlik malchute, v'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbi mevarach leolam alalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitheder v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha rihu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav uyaseh shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Any announcements? Well, I think we have some community announcements that we'll roll in a minute, but first I just want to thank everybody for coming out here in this beautiful night with me to celebrate Shabbat. You're invited back tomorrow where we will be indoors for our 9:30 Shabbat service, and sometimes it's a 10:30 Shabbat service, depends on when you get there. So, but we'll be praying together starting at 9:30, and hope you can make it. So, thanks again, everybody, for being here and being a part of our PJTC family. So, how do we usually close these things again? I forgot. Odivo Shalom. You know, if you wouldn't mind standing up, I think sometimes singing feels better that way. If you're able to. Odivo Shalom Aleinu. 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 Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And I believe we're going to make our way over that way for Kiddush. Let's see if we got did we get the juices out and the breads out? Are the juices out? Okay. If you're curious about all the wonderful stuff that's going on here at PJTC, the announcements on the screen here.
Oh, really?
Really like this because
Oh, I'll tell Mom. Oh, yeah, she's right across the hall from my mom. Is her daughter helping her move in? Right across the hall from my mom. Okay. Definitely. She didn't live though, but this is an extra. Yeah, so make sure she knows. Delmar, I'm Delmar. Yeah, Annie was a I'm Delmar. Okay, perfect, great, great.
Good sugar crop.
Where was she coming from? Oh, and moved out here because daughter is close. The daughter in Pasadena. Oh, man. Amen. Ah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Your mother is here.
Are you going online?
She has all these well, now it's coming. Well, it's nice she has an age.